Hey, Sean Malin here of Malin Film Commentary and Criticism. I wanted to continue with the series of South by Southwest 2016 film reviews. While I was on the ground at South by Southwest, I was doing coverage for the Austin Chronicle and for Matador Network, as well as for my website, cmfilmcommentary.com. But there were certain films that I didn't get to see either for the festival or for a different piece. One of the articles that I wrote was an in-conversation piece with the director Laura Dunn. Laura is a documentarian whose first film, The Unforeseen, won the Truer Than Fiction Spirit Award in 2008. The Unforeseen was a film about water shortages and about water failures to keep the water healthy, both in the American Midwest and South, for many, many years. That film was her first documentary feature, and it was executive produced by Robert Redford and Terrence Malick. This year, Laura Dunn returned with a new film in competition at South by Southwest, another documentary feature called The SEER, a portrait of Wendell Berry. This is Laura's second film in a decade, and I think it's her most visually accomplished. It has cinematography by Lee Daniel, the cinematographer of Boyhood, Dazed and Confused, and Slacker, as well as one of the founding members of the Austin Film Society, with music by Kerry Muzzey, the Midwestern bluegrass and film composer. Now, Laura is one of the most interesting documentarians I've ever met. She's both a family person with 6 children with her husband and Austin native Jef Sewell, and she was picked out of the blue by Terrence Malick to be a Malick mentee. Apparently, Terrence Malick called her one day and said, "I'm looking to make a film about Barton Springs and the health of the water in Central Texas. What do you think?" And Laura Dunn, coming from a background in documentary journalism in the East Coast and at UT, where she was studying for her master's, accepted, of course, because when Malick comes a knocking, you don't say, "No, you know what, Terry, I just can't work today. I'm sorry about that." So now, as a result, her new film is once again executive produced by Redford and Malick, with co-producer Nick Offerman and Jef Sewell producing and co-directing this year. This is, like The Unforeseen, a film which includes narration by the agriculturalist and environmental writer Wendell Berry, a personal acquaintance of Laura Dunn's. Laura went out to Wendell Berry's home in Kentucky and spoke to Mary Berry, his daughter, Tanya, his wife, Wendell himself. But Wendell opted not to appear on screen. That results in a biographical film that is more tone poem than autobiography. This isn't a film about Wendell Berry so much as it is a film where we see the world through Wendell's poetry. Berry narrates his own poem, in fact. This used to be called 40 Pains, this project. But now, as the seer, we see Laura Dunn's vision for a documentary about big agricultural organizations that may be performing criminal acts by destroying or vandalizing the American Midwest. We're not just talking about Monsanto or Big Agra, but also the failures and death of the American Midwest farming scene, the American South, and our respect for environmentalism in general. This is kind of the Koyaanisqatsi in response to An Inconvenient Truth, in that is both an existential, time-lapsing, lyric, river-like documentary in terms of its editing, but it is still an environmental plea, asking you, through the poetry of Wendell Berry, to perceive yourself as part of this massive cycle of replenishment and death and recycling and growth. Now, in the American Midwest, we don't have documentaries like Laura Dunn, so to see something like this have its world premiere at South by Southwest, where it was very heavily acclaimed, winning a special jury recognition award for Lee Daniel's cinematography and for the rest of the film in general, is a very special treat. The fact that Laura Dunn's only made her second film in 10 years is another special treat. This film has been in production for many years, shot partially in 2013 and 14, with narration by Wendell Berry given completely exclusively to Laura Dunn. It features clips of Wendell's past life, and it touches on the fact that Wendell Berry's creative text spans over 50 books, poems, novels, essays. He's an academic, he's a thinker, he's a public intellectual. For a long time, he was considered a runner-up for the Poet Laureate of America. And Wendell and his wife Tanya still live in the same Kentucky rural valley that they've lived for many, many years. But now the legacy of Wendell Berry, who is 82 years old, is beginning to wear a little bit thin, and we're not seeing his environmental activism stretch healthfully into the American relationship to literature, or really into America's relationship to documentary film. That's because he doesn't like to appear on screen. He doesn't believe in screens. He doesn't believe in the idolatry of the Twitter handle or of sports teams or NFL games. What Wendell Berry believes in is reading and talking and conversation and debate and community. And Laura Dunn's film, The SEER, touches on these themes with immense eloquence. It really is a film of editing far more than it is a film of biography. And when I spoke to Laura Dunn for the CM Film Commentary interview, I mentioned this to her. And in response, she said, well, editing was a training process that she went through with Malick. And you can see the residue of her apprenticeship with Malick, sending films in. She wasn't literally his apprentice, whereas Malick will sometimes have people be his literal employees. Laura's The Unforeseen was a project that she developed and that she edited and that she directed. Under Malick, you can see the influence of long shots shot at magic hour and the beauty of the rural landscape in America. That's really the kind of imagery that dominates the SEER. Now, our director, Ben Altenberg, and many of the other people who I saw this film with and spoke with it about agreed that the SEER is missing a sort of dramatic conscience or narrative that pushes the film towards a conclusion. Keith Maitland's Tower, which swept the documentary awards at South by Southwest, has more of this creative impulse, this more of a dramatic tension or theme that rises to the occasion and takes documentary film to a place of more accomplishment or resounding success, or you could even say enlightenment at the end. The SEER, A Portrait of Wendell Berry, is not going to enlighten you, but it might make you feel, it might pull at your heartstrings, and it might, above all, bring you into a conversational discourse with the agricultural awareness of Wendell Berry. Now, Wendell, one of the most respected poets living in America, is also one of the most well-spoken narrators of any documentary film that I've seen, certainly this year, but in many years. And I feel that the SEER, when it goes to international festivals, will represent an America that still hasn't lost touch with its more existential or land-connected, grounded, we might say, heartfulness. We still see certain parts of America, including Kentucky, the American Southwest, and all of the rural landscapes of America as the place where we shepherd out our cheeses, our nuts, our tomatoes, our community, our poets, our trees, our soy. This is where the development of America's kind of architecture or its structural security lies. And Wendell Berry argues for that very successfully in this film, The SEER. Now, Laura Dunn's film is going to become available later in the year or perhaps next year after it shuttles through the festival circuit. And I encourage you to look at their website, theseerfilm.com, to find more information about where they'll be screening or find images for your reviews or pieces about this. Now, Malick's new film, Night of Cups, is out too. And I really strongly recommend that you see both the film that he executive produced, The SEER, A Portrait of Wendell Berry, and this film, Night of Cups, which he wrote and directed, out now with Christian Bale, Freida Pinto, Antonio Banderas, etc. Both of these films stand as complementary pieces about what our existence in an America that is degraded by environmental distrust and care, or lack of care rather, has brought us to. Night of Cups and The SEER will make a great series of companion pieces, and for watching this review, I hope that it will compel you to watch The SEER, a film that I very much enjoyed. Thanks again to the Austin Chronicle and to Matador Network for supporting me during the South by Southwest Film Festival in 2016. Thanks to Laura Dunn for contributing to the interview and to this review, and thanks to Benjamin Altenberg for directing photography and shooting today. Please check out cmfilmcommentary.com and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks so much.